Hare Krishna. Today Srimad Bhagavatam will be summarized by Madhumai Sri Lakshmi Devi Dasi. You can go ahead and start, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Naranam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasham Tato Jayamudiret Shunvatam Sakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridantastahya Vadrani Vidhunoti Srisatam Nashtaprasha Vadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanasalakaya चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम्. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 28, verse 44 to 46. Verse 44. चिरावासाव्रतक्षामा वेणीभूता शिरोरुहा बभावोपपतिं शान्ता शिखा शान्तं इवानलम्. Synonyms: Chiravasha, wearing old garments; Vrata Kshama, lean and thin on account of austerities; Beni Bhuta, entangled; Siroruha, her hair; Bhavav, season; Upapatim, near the husband; Santa, peaceful; Sikha, flames; Santam, without being agitated; Eva, like; Analam, fire. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The daughter of King Vidarbha wore old garments, and she was lean and thin because of her vows of austerity. Since she did not arrange her hair, it became entangled and twisted in locks. Although she remained always near her husband, she was as silent and unagitated as the flame of an undisturbed fire. Purport: when one begins to burn firewood, there is smoke and agitation in the beginning. Although there are so many disturbances in the beginning, once the fire is completely set, the firewood burns steadily. Similarly, when both husband and wife follow the regulative principles of austerity, they remain silent and are not agitated by sex impulses. At such a time, both husband and wife are benefited spiritually. One can attain this stage of life by completely giving up a luxurious mode of life. In this verse, the word Chiravasa refers to very old torn garments. The wife especially should remain austere, not desiring luxurious dresses and living standards. She should accept only the bare necessities of life and minimize her eating and sleeping. There should be no question of mating. Simply by engaging in the service of her exalted husband, who must be a pure devotee, the wife will never be agitated by sex impulses. The Vanaprastha stage is exactly like this. Although the wife remains with her husband, she undergoes severe austerities and penances so that although both husband and wife live together, there is no question of sex. In this way, both husband and wife can live together perpetually. Since the wife is weaker than the husband, this weakness is expressed in this verse with the words upapatim. Upa means near to or almost equal to. Being a man, the husband is generally more advanced than his wife. Nonetheless, the wife is expected to give up all luxurious habits. She should not even dress nicely or comb her hair. Hair combing is one of the main business of women. In the Vanaprastha stage, the wife should not take care of her hair. Thus, her hair will become tangled in knots. Consequently, the wife will no longer be attractive to the husband, and she herself will no longer be agitated by sex impulses. In this way, both husband and wife can advance in spiritual consciousness. This advanced stage is called the Paramahamsa stage, and once it is obtained, both husband and wife can be actually liberated from bodily consciousness. If the disciple remains steady in the service of the spiritual master, he need no longer fear falling down into the clutches of Maya. Verse 45. Ajanati priyatamam yado paratam angana susthirasanam asadya yatha purvam upacharat. Synonyms: ajanati, without any knowledge, priyatamam, her dearmost husband, yada, when, uparatam, passed away, angana, the woman, susthira, fixed up, ashanam, on the seat, ashadya, going up to, yatha, as, purvam, before, upacharat, went on serving him. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The daughter of King Vidarbha continued as usual to serve her husband, who was seated in a steady posture until she could ascertain that he had passed away from the body. Purport: it appears that the queen did not even talk to her husband while serving. She would simply perform her prescribed duties without talk. Thus, she did not stop rendering service until she could ascertain that her husband had passed from the body. Verse 46. Yada nopalabhetangrav ushmanam patyurarchati asit sambigna hridaya yatha vrashta mrigi yatha. Synonyms: yada, when, na, not, upalabheta, could feel, angrau, in the feet, ushmanam, heat, patyuhu, of her husband, archati, while serving, ashit, she became, sambigna, anxious, hridaya, at heart, yutha, vrashta, bare feet of her husband, mrigi, the sea deer, yatha, as. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Whilst he was serving her husband, by massaging his legs, she could feel that his feet were no longer warm and could thus understand that he had already passed from the body. She felt great anxiety upon being left alone, bereft of her husband's company. She felt exactly as the deer feels upon being separated from its mate. Purport: as soon as the circulation of blood and air within the body stops, it is to be understood that the soul within the body has left. The stoppage of the blood circulation is perceived when the hands and feet lose heat. One tests whether a body is alive or not by feeling the heart's palpitations and the coldness of the feet and hands. End of purport. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नाम्ने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरा भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. Seeking blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to read Srimad Bhagavatam to purify myself. So, I will summarize those 3 verses, verse 44 to 46. So we see this chapter 28. Ranjana becomes a woman in his next life. So now she is Vaidarvi, daughter of King Vidarbha, and married to King Maledhwaja. Then King Maledhwaja is practicing severe austerity and penance and attempted perfection, and his wife is also following him, serving him very sincerely. As she is serving him with so much dedication, so she will also get spiritual benefit. We know, like many times, we come with this one, like wives get 50% spiritual credit of a husband's spiritual practice. So here the wife of King Maledhwaja is serving her husband faithfully, and the benefit she is getting is she is able to conquer lust. Actually, this lust is a very, very difficult thing to conquer. Bhagavad Gita 16, chapter 16, verse 21 says, त्रिविधं नरकस्येदं द्वारं नाशनम् आत्मनः कामः क्रोधस्तथा लोभस् तस्मात् एतत् त्रयं त्यजेत्. There are 3 gates leading to this hell. What are those 3? Lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give this up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. So lust can only be conquered through spiritual advancement or spiritual practice. We are part and parcel of Krishna. As you know, Bhagavad Gita 15.7 says, Mamaevam sa jiva loka jiva bhuta sanatana. So this question may come to our mind, then why the living entities got involved in sinful act? We are part and parcel of Krishna, right? So then why we're getting involved in this sinful act? This question is also raised by Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita 3.36, chapter 3, verse 36, where Arjuna is asking Krishna that by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unknowingly, as if engaged by force. So the answer is given by the Supreme Lord Krishna in the next verse, that is verse 37. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vidhi Enam Iha Vairinam. The Lord is saying, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. So, a very, very beautiful and important verse of Bhagavad Gita, this one. It describes when a living entity comes in contact with the material creation, the sense of love of God becomes transferred into lust. So we have to understand how we come in contact with this lust. Love for the Lord is converted into or transformed into lust, like milk in contact with the sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues the whole material existence. So we see first is mode of passion, and then it's further degraded to mode of ignorance. So our duty is to upgrade, not to degrade further. We should try to go from mode of passion to mode of goodness. How? By spiritual practice. So people usually ask, okay, Krishna is residing in our heart as super soul or Paramatma, then why would we do sinful activities? So it's because Jiva has, in this verse it is explained that Jiva has partial independence, but by misuse of their independence, when the service attitude is transformed into the propensity for sense enjoyment, they come under the sway of lust. Sometimes we question why Krishna even created this material world where we're suffering so much, right? Sometimes this question comes, why even this material world exists? Because of it exists, we're coming here, right? And we're suffering here. So the answer is this material creation is created by the Lord to give facility to the conditioned souls to fulfill these lustful propensities. And when completely baffled by prolonged lustful activities, the living entities begin to inquire about their real position. So we should never doubt about the Supreme Lord and His creations. He created something means there must be some reason. He is the cause of all causes. Therefore, If lust is transformed into love for the Supreme or transformed into Krishna consciousness, or in other words, desiring everything for Krishna, then both lust and wrath can be spiritualized. Lust and wrath, when they are employed in Krishna consciousness, become our friends instead of our enemies. Example we can see of Hanuman and Arjuna. So we have to understand it's no one but the lust which is our eternal enemy, as per Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 39. And Krishna also explains that the sitting place of this lust is mind, intelligence, and senses. So in verse 42 of chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, it is described, means in the purport it is described. So there is a hope for all of us, because Krishna says in that purport in verse 42 that the working senses are superior to dull matter, mind is higher than the senses, intelligence is still higher than the mind, and the soul is even higher than the intelligence. But one problem is here, even the soul is higher than them unless until it is strengthened by association with Krishna in Krishna consciousness, there is every chance of falling down due to the agitated mind. So we should not simply think that our soul is the higher than everything and we'll get all the benefits. So there is also chances of falling down. Actually, the senses require real engagements, and if they are not engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, they will certainly seek engagement in the service of materialism. We see one side, even it was difficult for personality like Lord Shiva to control the senses, whereas for Haridas Thakura, when the prostitute came, he did not get even there is not even a little bit of agitation because of his unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna. So, by spiritual strength, only we can conquer the enemy known as lust. So, how to get this spiritual strength? In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, Verse 1, Rishabdeva is teaching to his sons the translation of that particular verse is where Rishabdev is saying, my dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hogs that eat stool. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified, and when one attains this position, he attains eternal, blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever. So, two very important words are used in this purport, that penance and austerity. That's what we see in verse 44, right? What King Maledha's wife is doing here, penance and austerity. Because penance and austerity only brings us into mode of goodness. For example, rising early in the morning, attending morning temple programs, or if you're not able to go to temple, then you have to join the morning programs, you have to chant in early morning, then you have to join the Bhagavatam class. Then gradually we can go to transcendental goodness. So once we practice this austerity and penance, we'll go to mode of goodness, and from mode of goodness, we'll go to transcendental goodness. So, which is also mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 13, verse 2. When the living entity becomes strongly situated in the mode of goodness, then religious principles characterized by devotional service to me become prominent. One can strengthen the mode of goodness by cultivation of those things that are already situated in goodness, and thus religious principles arise. Then again, this next verse says, religious principles strengthened by the mode of goodness destroy the influence of passion and ignorance. When passion and ignorance are overcome, their original cause, irreligion, is quickly vanquished. So, we have to fight against Maya. So there is no room to compromise. We should not put our own ideas in spiritual practice. Whatever our acharyas have prescribed, we must follow. We cannot say, okay, I am working so hard day and night. I'll wake up little late and I will start my chanting at 7 o'clock. No, Srila Prabhupada has prescribed that we have to rise early in the morning. That's the best time to practice because, as soon as the sun rises, the mode of passion begins. So early morning, that before sunrise, the time is in the mode of goodness. So if we'll chant, practice our sadhana that time, that's very good. We see here King Maledhosa's wife. She is so surrendered to her husband's service. Even like she's not combing her hair, no talking. Same thing we also see read in Devahuti, right? About Devahuti. So of course, we can do that level of austerity, like no combing, wearing torn clothes. Even Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual master, they even don't demand that from us or prescribe that for us, but we have to follow the standards they have given us. So once we follow the regulative principles, chanting, reading Srila Prabhupada books, attend the temple programs, we gradually progress and there will be no taste for material enjoyment. Even though we are in Grihastha life, if we understand that we are servant of Krishna, we are not danger and always keep Krishna in the center, then our life will be successful. So unless until we get something higher taste, we'll never give up the taste for the lower material, those material kind of stuff, right? So because as explained by Sri Yamunacharya, when one is Krishna conscious, he gets more and more happiness by discharging duties for Krishna. Such a person spits on sense gratification, especially that of sexual enjoyment. An experienced advanced devotee is no longer interested in sex life. The strong desire for sex can be subdued only by advancement in Krishna consciousness. This purport is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 9, verse 16. So we see in the verse 44, even though the king and his wife were living together, but there was so much of austerity and penance that there is no question of sex, and we can liberate from bodily consciousness and advance in Krishna consciousness. It is also mentioned that same way a disciple remains steady in the service of the spiritual master. We see in the purport it is described that the queen was not even talking to her husband, like that much of austerity. Same thing why Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in the purport. He has given example of is guru and spiritual master and disciple relationship. Disciples also, you see, sometimes like we say, okay, I'm not in contact with my spiritual master, then how I will follow everything. We don't have to. We have to, the best service we can do our guru or spiritual master is we have to simply follow their instruction, and for that we don't have to meet every day with them. We simply have to follow their instructions. A husband-wife relationship, same guru Sisyan relationship. Guru should be very, very faithful. The disciple should be very, very faithful towards the spiritual master and execute his instructions. So that's that kind of comparison is given, and description is given by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. I think with that I'd like to stop here. Thank you again to give me this opportunity to read Srimad Bhagavatam today. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhuvaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव भक्त वृंद की जय. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय.